Kicked off here on the Carolina CrowlIne. Man, I don't even know where to start. We've got so much stuff to talk about. You might think the regular season of football is over, but there is still a ton of Gamecock news and notes all year round. We know football is a year-round sport with the offseason now. Everybody's tracking every little move, everything it makes, and we try to bring you everything that we possibly can here on the Carolina CrowlIne. By the way, fair warning right off the top of the program here. By the way, 803-450-0086 is the number to call. 803-450-0086 to go ahead and get in on the Carolina CrowlIne. Fighting a little bit of a cold here, so if I sound a little nasally or I start to hack a little bit, my apologies up front. I will try to turn off the microphone so I don't have to subject you audioly to my illness, but I will do the best I can. We're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. Marcus Lattimore today, at the time of this recording, of course, if you're following us live here on Spreecast, you may know this already. But Marcus Lattimore has decided to throw in his name there to the NFL draft. Joe Shad tweeted that out today. That sources that he had talked to said that Marcus Lattimore had decided to forego the rest of his eligibility here at South Carolina and enter the NFL draft. That has not been confirmed by the university as of the time of this broadcast. I do believe that Marcus Lattimore is planning on his own announcement here within the next day or so stay tuned for that. But right now all we have to go on is what Joe Shad has tweeted, and several other media outlets that follow Gamecock sports in the local news has also go ahead and decided to run with this story. So there must be somebody out there that's basically confirming that Marcus Lattimore, in fact, has decided to turn pro. And a lot of Gamecock fans out there, I'm sure, are wondering, is this the best decision? What would have been the alternative? Should he have stayed? Should he go now? A lot of people, equate this situation to the Willis McGahee situation. I believe that happened in 2002, where he went ahead and entered the NFL draft after he injured his knee in the final game of his college career and actually sat out the whole first year and then came back his second official year in the league. He was able to rehab with the Bills and then had 3 1,000-yard seasons right there in a row. I don't think this situation with Marcus Lattimore is nearly the same as a situation with Willis McGahee or even, an Eddie George, who had just come off winning the Heisman Trophy when he sustained his knee injury. There are a couple non-parallels here, things that don't match up to those stories, and I'm not saying anything that nobody doesn't know, but think about these things before you go ahead and make your decision regarding Marcus Lattimore. Number one, this is not his first knee injury. This is his second knee injury to both knees now. He's had one injury to both knees. I guess if there was a silver lining to that coin, it's not the same knee that he's injured twice, a la Thomas Davis up there with the Carolina Panthers. But one injury per knee. A lot of people thought, obviously, prior to the first knee injury, that he was a first-round talent, an elite running back that any NFL team would jump at the chance to have. Even after this second knee injury, a lot of people out there, and you heard the talk all season long and saw the talk on your various media outlets, a lot of people thought, well, Marcus Lattimore hasn't quite shown that he's all the way back. He just doesn't look like that same player, and so on and so forth. He doesn't have that same burst or that same amount of speed, and so on. So that was a concern even prior to the second knee injury, and now you're in a situation where this knee injury occurred so late in the season that he's not going to have the opportunity to show NFL scouts really what he's all about. I think if he had just come back from that first knee injury and had a great combine here in this spring, had a good pro day, that he could have done a lot for himself in terms of draft stock, and that's clearly not going to happen now. Word out of the Lattimore camp is obviously that he is now walking without crutches, still has the knee brace, so he has that in his favor. He hopes to go ahead and be able to at least do some running and maybe catch a few passes during the pro day here at USC in the spring. A lot of people anticipate that he will get an invitation to the NFL Draft Combine. Even if he's not going to be able to do any of the running or the lifting or the agility drills, he'll at least be able to go and go for the physical aspect of it, for the measurements, the height, the weight, pass the health examination, let the NFL doctors get a look at him so that teams can begin to evaluate how they feel about Marcus Lattimore and where they want to have him on their draft board. In all honesty, a lot of people out there, I'm sure, are wondering, where will Marcus Lattimore go in the draft? Is he going to be a first-round guy? Is he even going to get drafted at all? And word out of the Lattimore camp is that sources have told the guys in the league, maybe some scouts or some NFL people have told the Lattimore camp that he could be anywhere between the third round or later. They see him as high as a third-round draft pick, and that's pretty good. I think the benefits for Marcus Lattimore right now is that he gets to go, he gets his name in the draft, he hires the agent, he starts to actually make some money because Lord knows, I think if you're a member of Gamecock Nation, it's about time that Marcus Lattimore gets paid for everything that he's put himself through and everything he's given to the team. I think there's no question that there's nobody in Gamecock Nation that can hate on Marcus Lattimore for choosing to forego his remaining eligibility and jump in the draft. Also, he gets the team doctors, he gets the rehabilitation with the team that chooses him, but I think the one part that a lot of people aren't thinking of and perhaps overlooking is that Marcus Lattimore is going to get an entire year to absorb the NFL playbook, to get a feel for the system, to begin to build those relationships with the coaches and the players, sit in the film room, and really get a chance to absorb all that NFL knowledge that otherwise he would be getting, but not having the pressure of also performing on the field. It's almost like an NFL red shirt, if you will, and I think that's something that Marcus Lattimore could really benefit from. I'm not trying to say that he wouldn't be able to grasp an NFL system, but I think the more time you get, the better. He's going to get to be around the team, the coaches, the film room. He's going to get a feel for the NFL lifestyle. And even though he may not play all year, he's still going to be getting paid. Obviously, he's going to be on injured reserve and not an active member of whatever football team chooses him. But I think overall, you've got to be excited for a kid like this that he's finally getting his shot. And let's be honest, running backs are somewhat devalued these days. You don't see a whole lot of running backs going number one anymore like you used to unless they're just this pure elite rusher. Mark Ingram wins the Heisman Trophy, doesn't go that high. Trent Richardson was supposed to be the best back in the entire draft last year, and he was barely a top 10 pick, and he was considered elite talent. Doug Martin, a guy who's running wild down there in Tampa, was very low in the first round. A guy like Alfred Morris in Washington, a guy that was taken very late in the draft, and now he's had a lot of success. So people are looking for late round talent there in the NFL draft, and I think that's exactly where you'll find Marcus Lattimore. Stick with us right on the other side of this short break as we talk about what Lattimore really means to the Gamecocks and during his career. Stick with us right here on the Carolina CrowLine.
Pride and ambition and Gamecock traditions, yeah, we're all one big family. Carolina, sweet Carolina, yeah, I'm proud of where I'm from.
Welcome back into the Carolina CrowLine. I'm your host, Tyler Garrett. What's up? Glad to be with you here on this edition of the program. 803-450-0086 is the number to call if you want to go ahead and get on the CrowLine. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter, at Carolina CrowLine, at Carolina CrowLine, hashtag CrowLine. You can also like our Facebook page, Carolina CrowLine. Go ahead and send us your tweets and emails. The email is carolina@y'all.com, carolina@y'all.com, YALL.com. Let us know what you think about Marcus Lattimore. Should he stay and show what he has on the field before he enters his name into the NFL and hires that agent, or do you think he made a best decision by going now, getting what he can get, hopefully an NFL team finding a diamond in the rough and giving him a year to acclimate himself to the NFL, have the benefit of the NFL team doctors, and getting into the system and absorbing that playbook for a year. Let us know what your thoughts and feelings. Of course, we are streaming live on Spreecast right now, www.spreecast.com. We are also in your local radio market, so go ahead and check your local radio listings for the Carolina CrowlIne, a division of the John C. Calhoun Radio Network with CRM Sports. Marcus Lattimore, we're going to talk a little bit more about him right now. What does he mean to the Gamecocks, and what are the Gamecocks losing when you talk about a guy like Marcus Lattimore? Lattimore, obviously, he was ranked the number one running back coming out of high school in the year 2009, the 2010 recruiting 2009, I guess, recruiting class. The number one running back in America, five-star running back out of Duncan, South Carolina from James F. Burns High School. Really was Carolina all the way. He seriously entertained, I believe it was LSU, in Auburn for the most part, but it was really, when it came down towards the end of his recruitment, it was USC all the way. They were definitely the team to beat. Of course, we all know the kind of guy that Marcus Lattimore is, spreading the word of God, going to the hospitals, visiting sick kids, running stairs with teammates who get in trouble, just being that leader from day one. But as far as his production goes, what does he mean to the University of South Carolina? Right now, Marcus Lattimore currently ranks 6th on the all-time rushing list here, yardage-wise, for the University of South Carolina with 2,677 yards. Of course, Big George, 5,204 yards, number one all-time career rushing here at University of South Carolina. But when you look at number 2, 3, 4, and 5, Brandon Bennett, number 2, Harold Green, number 3, Steve Wadiak, number 4, Thomas Dendy, number 5, and of course Lattimore sits at number 6 with just over 2,600 yards. However, just really a career very cut short. He easily could have been number 2. When you take a look at Brandon Bennett sits at number 2 with just a touch over 3,000 yards, 3,055 yards. Lattimore at 2,677 yards. So you're taking a guy who's just about 400 yards short of being the number 2 all-time rushing leader in South Carolina history. And when you take a look at Marcus Lattimore, really, honestly, he only really got roughly about 2 full seasons here at the University of South Carolina. Of course, he missed a few games here and there in the 2010 season, his freshman year, but basically played a full slate, but then was only around for 7 games in 2011, and he was around for 9 games in 2012, and the beginning of this season was really easing him back onto the field, not wanting to rush him back too quickly. 13 attempts this year against East Carolina, 12 attempts against UAB, 13 attempts against LSU, 3 attempts against the University of Florida. So really, when you take a look at it, he really played just a touch over 2 full seasons over the span of 3 seasons here at the University of South Carolina. You can't help but wonder what Marcus Lattimore, the kind of accomplishments he could have made here during his time as a Gamecock if he was able to stay on the field. Just in terms of some of his standout games that you may remember, of course, really his breakout game, his freshman year, September 11, 2010, right here at Williams-Brice Stadium against the Georgia Bulldogs. 37 carries for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns, 51% of the total offense that day. Looking down the list, 184 yards on 29 attempts that same season here at home versus Tennessee, 42% of the offense that day. Of course, the clinching victory down in Gainesville that year for the SEC East crown, 40 attempts for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns, 54% of the offense that day. He had another 100-yard game on only 7 attempts against Troy that season. Turning to the 2011 season, opening game, 23 attempts, 112 yards for ECU. Again, Georgia killer down in Athens. Last year, 27 attempts, 176 yards and a touchdown. He had 246 yards against Navy here at Williams-Brice Stadium last year and 3 touchdowns. Continue to look down the list. This year against Vanderbilt, 23 attempts, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kentucky, 23 attempts, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Killed Georgia again, 24 attempts, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So just a lot of amazing production for a guy that's going to be sorely missed here at the University of South Carolina. He averaged 92 0.3 yards per game, 555 total carries, again, 2,677 yards, 19 rushes per game, and 38 rushing touchdowns. That is an all-time record here at the University of South Carolina. So you wish him nothing but the best. Again, just a kid that really, in my opinion, helped put South Carolina on the map as a viable power, and just more evidence of his ability to affect the University of South Carolina and the success here. Since Marcus Lattimore has stepped on campus, the University of South Carolina is 30-9 since 2010, 17-8 in the SEC. So again, rushing offense has averaged 56th in the nation at right at 163 yards per game since Marcus Lattimore has been a part of the South Carolina football team. So you can see the numbers bear it out. Marcus Lattimore is that guy who just really was responsible for the bulk of he was the bread and butter, and Steve Spurrier, he helped turn Steve Spurrier into that run-first kind of coach. When you take a look just at a few more numbers, I mean, gosh, he's responsible for 24% of the scores here at the University of South Carolina since he's been a member of the football team. So you're going to be losing a lot of offense now that Marcus Lattimore has decided to turn pro. However, I think the stable of running backs that we have coming back is very deep. I'm not worried about the University of South Carolina as an offense overall. I think they're going to be very successful. When you take a look at Brandon Wild's several 100-yard rushing games in the absence of Marcus Lattimore last year, Mike Davis, a 4-star recruit coming out of Georgia, showed flashes of brilliance this year. You're also going to have one running back right now joining the fold, Jamari Smith, a kid out of Florida. Of course, you can't forget Kendrick Salley, a kid who's been redshirting this year, who had a knee injury late in his high school career here from South Carolina. And you can't forget Sean Carson either, a kid who's been racked with injuries since he's been a member of this football team. He's going to be looking to actually make his presence felt next year, coming back fully healthy. Sean Carson, a kid that might actually play in the bowl game that we're going to talk about here a little bit later when we get into the full bowl breakdown. But again, is Marcus Lattimore the greatest Gamecock ever? And my resounding answer right now, I think, is yes. He's really helped here lately turn South Carolina around, put them on the map as a viable SEC power, and I think that all started the day that Marcus Lattimore committed to the University of South Carolina. I think he's been a great Gamecock, somebody that will be very missed, and I don't think there's anybody out there in the world of football, whether it be NFL or college, that is not rooting 110% for this kid. So, in my opinion, yes, Marcus Lattimore, greatest Gamecock ever, definitely in the Spurrier era. Stick with us right here on the Carolina CrowlIne. We'll be right back.
Let's pull the 2-seat out, baby. Wherever you want to go.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature, late night free zone. For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you, we'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call 800-399-5101 now and get the NFL Sunday ticket free for the rest of the season. That's 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
All right, well, welcome back here on the Carolina CrowlIne. That's a little bit of winter wonderland there. It is the Christmas time of season. Boy, I can't wait. It's such a fun time of year to be around, especially college football. The bowl seasons get kicked off. The kids are on vacation. It's time to start getting together with family. That may be good or bad depending on the kind of family that you have. But, the gift of giving, the time of year, the cold weather, maybe a little bit of snow depending on where you live. Doubtful here in Columbia. It's like 75 degrees outside today, so I don't see that happening. But just a really good time of year. Just makes you feel good. And of course, a lot of stuff going on in the world of football. Last week here on the Carolina CrowlIne, we talked to you a little bit about the world of recruiting, and specifically with a young man out of the state of Virginia, a kid named Matt Rowland, who is a linebacker that was committed to the University of South Carolina since May, I think, May or April, somewhere in that neighborhood. A kid, while he lives in Virginia, his grandparents, his aunts and uncles, all are from Columbia and actually live in Columbia here at the University of South Carolina. So a kid that was very high, he was a 4-star rated linebacker, committed for months here at the University of South Carolina. Actually, just, if you were to look on his Twitter page, his handle had the SC in it. He had Gamecocks, South Carolina stuff all on the wall of his Twitter page. Tore his ACL late in the season, came down to South Carolina, had surgery by the lead doctor, team physician here, Dr. James Guy. However, right before that surgery, took an official visit to Florida and kind of went quiet about where he stood here with his recruiting. And we talked a little bit about, should there be an early signing period for recruiting, just like there is in college basketball? And I can see both sides of it. And anyway, to make a long story short, we talked about him questioning his commitment here to the University of South Carolina, even though he was getting the surgery done with South Carolina's team doctors. His entire family lives here in Columbia, a kid that should be a lock for the Gamecocks. Well, it comes down yesterday that actually Matt Rowland did in fact decommit from the University of South Carolina and flipped over to the Florida Gators. Very interesting. So he's now a Gator, bailed on the Gamecocks. He had a couple of interesting quotes. He just said, he said, the University of Florida will win a national championship while I'm here as a member of their football team, and something just didn't feel right about the coaches at the University of South Carolina, and so on and so forth. Florida runs a 3-4 system, so he said he felt better in that system than a 4-2-5. That, if you ask me, that sounds a little bit like home cooking on the part of the Florida coaches trying to get into his head and talk to him about why he shouldn't even come as a Gamecock if he'll even get out on the field. But as the recruiting world turns, here today, as a matter of fact, the University of Florida had one of their linebackers, a 4-star kid named Quentin Powell. He was ranked the 15th ranked linebacker, 4-star, 207th prospect in the nation, has decommitted from the University of Florida and has mentioned the Gamecocks here as a possible destination for him to come visit as he reopens his recruiting. So we talked about the flip, or the possible flip of Matt Rowland. And should there be an early signing period in the springtime to kind of lock these kids down? I can see one might say, well, what if they change their mind? Then they'll be stuck with a school they don't want to go to. They won't be fully invested in the football program, and they will never see the field, and they won't succeed as a football player. The other side of it is, if you have an early signing period, you keep other coaches from other schools away. They don't get into these kids' heads and try to fill their mind with things like, oh, Spurrier's going to retire. He's winding down. They only play 2 linebackers on the field at a time. You'll never make it onto the field. Come down here where you'll get more playing time and we can develop you. South Carolina's never won anything. We've won 2 national championships here recently, and we're in a BCS Bowl. South Carolina's never been in a BCS Bowl. Whatever. So I can see both sides of that coin. But again, here we have a decommitment of Matt Rowland, a kid who seemed like a surefire lock. If anybody was a lock, the kid who had family here in Columbia was going to be the lock. But no, he's the flipper. He does the flip. But now Quentin Powell, you never know what he's thinking. Florida had about 5 linebackers now committed, all in the same class, to come to Gainesville starting next year, and Quentin Powell was one of them. Now maybe he's reevaluating his options. Reuben Foster is another guy, a 5-star kid who was committed to Alabama, then flipped to Auburn. Now they've cleaned out the coaching staff at Auburn. Now he's decommitted from them, and he's also considering Georgia and South Carolina. So just the drama. These kids are 17, 18-year-old young men. They are young men, but they're young men in physical nature only, really. Their minds, they're still immature. They still do crazy things and can change their minds at the drop of a hat. So again, the recruiting wheel never turns. So we'll see. Matt Rowland may never develop into anything, or he may have a fine career. Even when you take a look at a kid like Johnny Manziel, who just won the Heisman Trophy as a redshirt freshman there at Texas A&M. You may not know this, but Johnny Manziel was a 3-star quarterback coming out of Texas. And Mac Brown, if he had committed to Texas, Mac Brown was recruiting him as a defensive back. He never would have even been a quarterback for the University of Texas. So you have a Heisman Trophy winner who was recruited by Texas not even to play the quarterback position. So again, you really can't count on anything until these kids sign on the dotted line during signing day. If you're one of those recruiting buffs, you follow this day in and day out. However, you can just drive yourself insane with this recruiting stuff. Just let me know who South Carolina signs on signing day. Let me know if they fit our system, if the coaches like them, if they can get coached up and learn their position. I'll worry about all that stuff on the field. All this recruiting stuff just kind of drives me crazy. Real quick, before we get into our next topic, I want to talk to you a little bit about DirecTV. Carolina CrowlIne is presented by DirecTV, and they have a special offer that only you, the listener, can get by calling 1-800-399-5101. NFL Sunday ticket free for the rest of the season. That's right, free for the rest of the season. DirecTV's most advanced whole home HD DVR free and 47 premium movie channels free for 3 months. Not available at directv.com. Only if you call this number, 1-800-399-5101. Call your DirecTV dealer today. 803-450-0086 is the number to call. 803-450-0086 is the number to call if you want to jump on the Carolina CrowlIne. Email us, carolina@y'all.com, carolina@y'all.com, at Carolina CrowlIne, hashtag CrowlIne, or go ahead and like us on Facebook. I'm going to close the book right there on the recruiting because it can just absolutely drive you crazy. We're going to go ahead and right now spend a little bit of time jumping into our full Outback Bowl preview. The Outback Bowl, South Carolina, number 11 ranked Gamecocks, 5-point favorite over the 19th ranked, if I can say it correctly, Michigan Wolverines, down in Tampa, Raymond James Stadium, home of the Buccaneers. New Year's Day, 1 p.m. Thank goodness that they moved that 11 o'clock kick over to 1 p.m. John Gruden and Mike Tirico, that's right, your Monday Night Football crew, have chosen to go down to Tampa and call this football game. And we're going to toss it down to former coach and man known as Chucky, John Gruden, let you hear what he thinks about the upcoming matchup between the Gamecocks and the Wolverines. All right, having some issues here. Let's see if I can. There we go.
I love this game. We got a top 10 South Carolina Gamecock team against a top 20 Michigan Wolverine team. Very well-respected college football teams. The great Steve Spurrier, Hall of Fame coach, against an up-and-coming guy in Brady Hoke. It's going to be a heck of a game.
You mentioned Coach Spurrier. all-time leader in wins in South Carolina, picked up his 250th career overall win, and then his 200th college win this season. When you look at the job he's done in South Carolina, how impressive has that been?
I think he's as good a coach as there is in all of football at any level. That's what he does. That's what Steve Spurrier does. He wears visors, he throws them, he coaches ball, man, and he has always been on the cutting edge. You got to give him credit. He's changed with the times. You're seeing aspects of his offense that you didn't see at Florida. You didn't see with the Washington Redskins. He continues to grow. He knows how to hire coaches, and the guy can recruit. The Gamecocks are loaded. I like their team.
The NFL level, a Gamecock you've seen a couple times this season, Melvin Ingram from San Diego, a guy you gave a lot of praise to. Gamecock fans are always happy when you would mention Melvin Ingram, South Carolina, during those games. Defensively, South Carolina, especially on the line, is a very strong team. How do you like that matchup for the Gamecocks?
I do like them. I also think Michigan can neutralize the front with a lot of the things they can do with Denard Robinson and their Big Ten running game. I'm anxious to see this matchup, but South Carolina can dominate the game if Michigan's not careful with their front four.
South Carolina team that won 11 games for the first time in school history last season, going against what Coach Spurrier has already talked about. Michigan, the all-time winningest program in college football. In Tampa, great weather, New Year's Day. You're going to be calling the game in your former NFL stadium. A great atmosphere for everybody.
It's going to be the game, I think. When you look at the New Year's Day bowl games, this is the one I wouldn't miss. So get your sleep the night before. Don't miss this one.
All right, so there's a little bit from Coach John Gruden. Look, that guy, is intense. You know, if there's one thing, if you can just even watch the video, and you can even watch that short clip if you go to USCSports.com, the South Carolina Gamecock website. They have that little video clip there. I mean, he is intense. I mean, there's just no other way to say it, but he is intense. Michigan, when you take a look at Michigan, off the top of your head, you know, just based on what you've seen, most of us, what we know of Michigan is that 41-14 loss at the hands of Alabama to open up the season, suffered that 27-point loss. But when you take a look at their schedule overall, a good team, not a great team, 8-4 overall, 6-2 in conference. I guess you would look at their schedule: wins at Purdue, home to Illinois, at a 20th ranked Michigan State at the time. They won at Minnesota, at home versus a 24th ranked Northwestern, at home versus Iowa. Most recently lost to 12th ranked Ohio State, lost to 11th ranked Notre Dame 13-6, lost to a 21st ranked Nebraska, who just got throttled by Wisconsin in their championship game, 23-9. So, nothing stellar jumps out at you schedule-wise here with Minnesota. Every good quality team they've played, they've lost to. So we're going to jump in, both feet, other side of this break. What should you look for New Year's Day versus the Wolverines? Stick with us right here on the Carolina CrowlIne. Oh, 803-450-0086 is the number to call to get on the Carolina CrowlIne. You can tell us what you think about the upcoming Outback Bowl matchup. South Carolina, a 5-point favorite over the Michigan Wolverines, a team that's the winningest football program all time in college football, against a team in South Carolina that's really making their history and creating their tradition right now. As a matter of fact, these are the golden years. If you are a member of Gamecock Nation, look, it has not gotten any better than where it is right now in the entire history of South Carolina football. That is a long history, and this is the apex. This is the pinnacle of it right now. Obviously it has room to get better. 2 potential back-to-back 11-win seasons, definitely 2 double-digit back-to-back seasons for the first time in program history. Over 100 years of football, this is the first time, people. So the history is being, written right now at the University of South Carolina. When you take a look at the game, obviously you know what South Carolina has defensively. Jadeveon Clowney, DJ Swearinger, Jungle Boy Swag. You've got Akeem Auguste, Victor Hampton on the corners, Legree in the third cornerback spot, Devontae Holloman in the spur. You've got Shaq Wilson, linebacker, Devin Taylor. You've got Byron Gerardo. You've got an offensive line that has had its bumps and bruises along the way. Connor Shaw is expected to be healthy and start the game on January 1st. Again, this is going to be the swan song for Kenny Miles. A. Sanders, Bruce Ellington on the outside, Demir Bird, D.L. Moore, Justice Cunningham. This will be their final action in the Gamecock uniform. So a lot of stuff that Michigan is going to have to game plan for, and they have a lot of time to do it. And that's kind of my point here, actually, is that there is a lot to game plan for the University of Michigan. When you look up and down their depth chart, all you see are juniors and seniors, upperclassmen left and right, juniors and seniors. Of course, Denard Robinson, this will be his final game. Just all over the place. Most of the defensive line, the wide receivers, the offensive line. Just a few names of note for the Michigan Wolverines that you might want to make yourself familiar with. Of course, Denard Robinson has been the quarterback mostly for the last 2 years. However, was hurt a little bit this year. Devin Gardner, who started the year as third on the depth chart at quarterback, is now your starter. He's already thrown for over 1,000 yards. Denard Robinson already has 1,000. They have 2 1,000-yard passers on the season. Denard Robinson is back healthy. They're going to line him up at multiple positions. They're going to line him up at wide receiver. They're going to line him up at running back, scat back, and they're going to line him up at quarterback. They're going to, I'm sure, flex Devin Gardner, who was getting looks at wide receiver, out. So basically you have 2 wide receiver quarterback hybrids for the University of Michigan right now. They have an All-American left tackle, Taylor Lewin, who is a junior. He, again, was a first-team All-American. You can bet your bottom dollar that he will be matched up on Jadeveon Clowney. They love to run behind Taylor Lewin. He is kind of like that monster. He is, where can I find him? 6'8", 300-pound junior. So a big-time offensive lineman. Think of an All-American Corey Robinson at the left tackle position. If you will. On the defense, they are led by Jake Ryan, a linebacker. He's their leading tackler. He's kind of that spur-type linebacker-type guy that you think of a Devontae Holloman a little bit. Jordan Kovacs, who's a safety, who's also a senior. They have senior leadership across the board. These boys know how to play football. They have a big-time offensive line, 6'8", 6'7", 6'3", and the list goes on and on, 6'4" and 6'3". So they are big on the outside. They are stout up the middle. Offensive line, offensively, they have had their problems throughout the year. But I think there's going to be a ton for Whammy Ward and the defense to game plan for. I think Michigan definitely has to focus in on Jadeveon Clowney and Devin Taylor, and they're going to try and use their speed to get to the edge, and they're going to try and run the ball right up the middle to neutralize that pass rush. I promise you, Michigan is going to want to come out and run the ball first, get the defense back on its heels, and then that's when they're going to be able to neutralize that pass rush, because if Michigan finds themselves in late down and distances, 3rd and long, 2nd and long, 1st and long, it is going to be a long day for that Michigan Wolverines offense. It doesn't matter to me if they have an All-American at left tackle to begin with, because we know that Ward and the defensive coaches have moved Clowney around at times. So that'll be very interesting to see how Clowney is going to match up with that All-American left tackle. If you heard John Gruden say it on the previous side of that last break we took, if they can neutralize the pass rush with their running game, get that over-aggressiveness that Jadeveon Clowney has shown sometimes here during the season, get him to over-pursue, that's going to leave huge running lanes for Denard Robinson and company. And if the guys on the outside, the Victor Hamptons, the Akeem Augustes, the Devontae Hollomans, and the linebackers cannot make one-on-one open field solo tackles, it could be a very, very long day for the Gamecock defense. We're not done with our breakdown, though. Stick with us right here through this short break, and we're going to jump into our final segment where we wrap it up here on the Carolina CrowLine.
Man, I work, but I don't climb. Boss man can shove that overtime up his can. All I wanna do is put a drink in my hand. To fill it up, I'll throw it down.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call now. That's 800-399-5101. That's right. Call now at 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature, Late Night Free Zone. For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief.
I couldn't believe how fast it worked.
Really, it can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you, we'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I'm happy. The first time I tried real-time pain relief, it worked.
The makers of Real-Time Pain Relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
I'm going to bring my radio voice down a little bit low for the final segment of the Carolina CrowLine here with a mellow, low-key rendition of Holy Night there on the Carolina CrowLine. I am Tyler Garrett, your host. We are wrapping up the final segment of the program. We are foot deep, knee-deep here in the Outback Bowl breakdown here on the Carolina CrowLine. This is the final segment of the program, so if you want to get on the phone lines, do it quick. 803-450-0086, the number to call. We have been in the midst of taking a look at the Michigan offense and defense. We've given you some names to know. I failed to mention left tackle Taylor Lewin, the All-American, will be dealing with an All-American in his own right. That's right, Jadeveon Clowney, unanimous first-team All-American at defensive end position. Finished 6th in the Heisman voting, by the way. And I really think if Manti Te'o would have won the Heisman this year, that pretty much would have killed any chances that Jadeveon Clowney would have had of winning the Heisman next year. That definitely wouldn't give it to two defensive players 2 years in a row. So I'm glad that Te'o didn't win it for the sake of Jadeveon Clowney. I think he's going to have a monster year next year. You can just hear it in his voice when he talks about his drive and his goals for the year and what he's going to win. Even the Nagurski Award, when he didn't win that, he already said in the post-award show interview, I'm winning this award next year. So you got to love the confidence of a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. But when you take a look at Michigan and South Carolina, Michigan actually, honestly speaking, when you take a look at the rankings, Michigan with the 11th ranked defense overall in America, South Carolina with the 12th ranked defense in America. So Michigan a little bit better here defensively speaking. Now, South Carolina ranks 16th against the run, whereas the Wolverines ranked 58th. It's really against the pass that the Wolverines do their most damage. The Wolverines rank second in the nation in pass defense, whereas the Gamecocks rank 17th in the nation in pass defense. And the Gamecocks are a little bit better in scoring defense, ranked 13th in the country, where the Wolverines are ranked 16th in the country. The Wolverines convert roughly 51% of their third down. So again, if South Carolina can get the Wolverines into that third and long, third and medium, I like the odds of South Carolina winning this football game. Michigan, a team who runs that traditional 4-3 defense with the three linebackers, the two safeties. One of their safeties is their leading tackler. So that's a little bit, I guess, not always a good sign when your safety is your leading tackler, a guy that like to drop down in the box. A lot of people seem to be getting into the second level of the defense. But overall, I think the offensive line is really going to need to have a great game for the University of South Carolina. You got some big boys up front for the University of Michigan. They are not a power running team. The Wolverines just don't seem to have a lot of running power. Their running back hasn't racked up a lot of yards, traditionally speaking. Where they get their running yards is when they flex out Denard Robinson, when they run reverses to their wide receivers. It's more of a matchup running game. It's not just kind of a lineup and pound it down the middle running game, more so than what we have here at the University of South Carolina. They're going to try and dink and dunk and create matchups. We've played a few mobile quarterbacks this year, but nobody that is near the athlete that Denard Robinson is. He's not even going to be a running back in the true sense of the word, but he's just going to be that weapon that they use all over the field, at wide receiver, at running back, at quarterback. Their starting quarterback, Devin Gardner, was a wide receiver. So you just get the feeling that Michigan is going to try and spread USC out. They're going to try and create matchup issues. They're going to try and neutralize Jadeveon Clowney. And you can just feel the trick plays coming for this game. South Carolina really has to play what's known as assignment football. They can't get out of their gaps. They have to maintain their responsibility, because as soon as they try to cheat or look in the backfield to where the quarterback is looking, and then he looks off the receivers and then nails it right over the guy's head because he was caught looking in the backfield, that's when problems are going to start for USC. It's going to be big-time assignment football. South Carolina is going to have to maintain their responsibilities. They cannot let Denard Robinson and the rest of the Michigan playmakers get out on the edge, because as soon as those linebackers get sucked up to the line of scrimmage and they start to load up the box and drop down Devontae Holloman, that's when Michigan is going to try and beat you deep. You've seen it time and time again with an electric of an athlete as Denard Robinson is. He still has that capability of throwing the football. We all know that Notre Dame-Michigan game at the beginning of the season 2 years ago when he had that electrifying comeback. So it's something that you have to be aware of. Michigan does the bulk of their scoring in the first half. I think if South Carolina, we know how South Carolina comes out and can shut down opponents in the second half. We've seen it before all season. So if South Carolina can weather the storm early, I like South Carolina's chances of winning this football game. The Wolverines have scored the majority of their touchdowns running the football. As a matter of fact, 60% of their touchdowns have come running the football. So I just look for South Carolina to try and shut down and put the clamps on Denard Robinson, Devin Gardner, Roy Roundtree, Jimmy Gallen, and those guys that they're going to flex out and make it for an interesting day running the football. And I think South Carolina will be just fine. It'll be interesting to see how they use Connor Shaw, how he responds from the injury that's pretty much immobilized him here of late. I've got South Carolina winning this ball game 28-17, Outback Bowl. Thank you for sticking with us. South Carolina will be victorious. We're going to take a break over Christmas vacation, but we'll be right back after the new year. Thanks for tuning in right here on the Carolina CrowLine. Glad you could be with us. Go Cox.